Hi guys, welcome back to G Chats with your host G. You are joined with me here in the G spot, and today we have a very special guest, my baby Zula. She's not mine. She is not mine. This is a rescued cat. My boyfriend's brother rescued a beautiful cat and named her Zula. She's so cute, and I'm babysitting her for today. And she's so cute. She's just been chilling on my couch while I did some work. And I was like, let's do that before I film. So she's just such a good girl. She's just chilling. She's playing with my hair. So I'm very excited to have Zula here with me today. And you guys are going to be staring at her all episode. But today's episode is us kind of myth busting some misinformation that goes on TikTok. So TikTok is the main platform that I'm on, and there's always videos on TikTok that's pushing misinformation and things like that. So I wanted to review some videos. Okay, guys, sorry, we just cut to me without Zula because I just put her in her litter. It was giving that she needed to use the bathroom. So in this video, we are going to be looking at some trendy videos, both old and new videos that spread some dangerous misinformation. And then we are going to go through some topics that are super popular on TikTok where it is a spread of some dangerous misinformation. So it'll be a mix of some videos and then some overarching topics that exist on TikTok that are dangerous, and I want to spread correct information. So let's get right into it, and we will start with the videos.
It always shocks people when it comes up in conversation when I say I'm not on birth control and haven't been for like 15 years. And it always shocks me to hear how many women are still taking that toxic crap. First of all, let's not even get into the fact that doctors are handing out the birth control pill like candy for any women's health issue. Literally anything. And oftentimes at a very young age. Robs your body of nutrients like B2, B6, B12, vitamin C, vitamin E, depletes minerals like magnesium, selenium, zinc, feeds the bad bacteria, and often contributes to many gut issues. Women on the pill have reoccurring UTIs and yeast infections and issues with their pH. We are messing up our cycles in the long term for what? There are only 5 to 7 days out of the month where you have a chance of getting pregnant. You're going to take a pill every single day that's going to screw up your fertility for 5 days. There are better ways out there if pregnancy is your concern, and if it's for any other hormonal issue, for the love of God, the pill is not your answer. The moment that you decide to come off of it, whatever led you to take it in the first place, whether it was acne, whether it was PMS or long periods, heavy flows, whatever it is, it's going to be 10 times worse. So you might as well start addressing the root cause of the issue rather than masking it and creating a whole whack of problems. If you're on the pill and have been wanting to get off it, if you're on the pill and didn't know these things, please leave a comment. We can definitely talk a lot more on this topic.
So is birth control necessarily bad? Is this misinformation? I think, to put it bluntly, the misinformation in this video doesn't really exist, because it is true that it does put you at a greater risk of yeast infections, UTIs, BV. It does deplete your body of certain minerals. It isn't the best option for everyone. And I will say that there is a problem with how it's handed out to young girls. There isn't enough education on birth control, and a lot of people don't really understand what birth control is doing, because essentially, in order to stop your period, you have to hijack your entire endocrine system. And yes, that is difficult. That's difficult. You are overriding, birth control's overriding your natural hormonal cycle, and that is a pretty big thing and drastic thing to do. So it is a drastic change in the body. But I cannot stress enough that birth control is not a one size fits all, but that also means that it can help so many other people. Like, it is at the end of the day hormonal therapy. So it's hormones. And so it can help people with hormonal imbalances that they're trying to correct. And this could be beneficial for them. So I will say with this kind of video, yes, birth control isn't for everyone, but I wouldn't go out of my way to call it like toxic stuff, because it is helpful for some people. Science and holistic medicine have to kind of meet in the middle here. It's not for everyone, but it's also not like the worst for everyone. So it can apply for some people and it's not necessary for others. So that is where I will meet in the middle.
So I got a doctor's appointment with a new doctor next week, and I'm not looking forward to it because every time I go to the doctor, it's the same thing. They be like, you're 24 and you haven't had a pap. And I'm like, I know. And then they're like, you're 24, you need a pap. And I'm like, no, I don't. And they're like, you're 24, especially being active, you need a pap. And then every time I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, you're not active? And I'm like, no. And they're like, ever? And I'm just like, no. And it's just this awkward pause. Every fucking time they're just like, well, you're 24, you need a pap. I'm not getting a fucking pap. I don't need one.
So while cervical cancer is largely and almost always associated to HPV, and HPV does come from intercourse, the risk for developing cervical cancer isn't at zero if you're not sexually active. The risk is low, but there is always a chance. So if you are not sexually active, you've never been sexually active, and you are in your 20s, while it might not be a necessity to get a pap smear, and it's not necessarily high risk for you to develop cervical cancer if you have never been sexually active, I will say that there is still a risk with anything, that it's more than likely something that you should look to do at some point in your life, and not something that you should say, I'm never getting a pap smear, because pap smears are life-saving. So I do understand this creator's stance of not being sexually active, never being sexually active, and not needing a pap smear. But to say I will never be getting a pap smear, I think is like misinformation. There were a lot of people in the comments who were saying, oh yeah, like I'll never get a pap smear done, they're unnecessary. Pap smears do save lives. So if you don't need one right now, you definitely should get a pap smear at some point in your life. At some point.
How to stop your period for an emergency. 2 shots of squeezed lime juice, Tajin powder, salt for flavor.
Guys, I had to come back to give you an update because holy guacamole, it works. Okay, I was skeptical. It worked for a day, which is perfectly fine. All I needed was one day. I was not trying to bleed through a concert. It works. It's crazy. Everyone's different, okay? But still, like, we got a life hack. Fuck it.
So can lime juice and then some tahine and some, I think she said like cayenne or something, stop your period? There's no evidence that this will like stop your period. And I want to urge you all to not fall for like supplements to either like induce your period or stop your period. Your period is due to a complex system. Your endocrine system and your hormones are so complex. You can't just like quickly take some lime juice and that's going to halt your period. Like it's a complex system. The uterine lining is shedding. I understand that making this kind of content can help you go viral and stuff like that. It's still not necessarily appropriate and safe to spread information that like taking this will just like stop your period. To stop your period, you have to completely shut off your hormones from shedding the uterine lining. And that's something that like is very difficult to do and not something you could just do lightly with like lime juice. So I don't think there's any scientific backing in this whatsoever. And I would not be giving this a try or like trying to stop your cycle mid-cycle. It's just not safe and or healthy for your body.
19 years taking care of stinky pussies, yet no one believes me when I tell them this. Kiwi will improve the smell down there and make you taste like candy. It takes away that fishy odor in your coochie by balancing your pH levels. This lemon balm drink is 98% more effective than Ozempic, as it enables your body to convert fat to energy quickly. If you want the recipe on how to make it, just comment lemon balm and I'll send it your way. Preparing it every day is a real hassle, so you can also take it through a concentrated form. The one I use is a Lyre lemon balm extract from Amazon. It really saves me so much time. To make it easier for you, I left the link in my bio. Eating dates every day will boost your metabolism and melt away stubborn love handles because of their high selenium content. Cold water facials in the morning will eliminate wrinkles, eye bags, and acne scars. It's uncomfortable, but works wonders.
Okay, so why am I covering this? I know she didn't exclusively just talk about the vagina, but the reason I'm covering this, guys, is because this person on TikTok, this is an AI face. This is not a real person. This is not scientific information. This is literally just a scam. This lady talking about, I'm a doctor. 1 minute she's a doctor, 1 minute she's a chiropractor, 1 minute she's a dentist. You have to be careful with where you guys are getting your information from. And this is why, like, some people just give like false credentials, and you have to be careful. Like, people say things all the time to give themselves any kind of credibility. Like, this person made it seem like, and I keep saying like this person, I don't even know what to say. This is a robot. This isn't a real person. This is AI. So there's false credentials there. And this, unfortunately, is something that's going to be happening more and more with AI. So we got to be careful who we're getting information from, who we're listening to, because this is dangerous, and they could say anything and people might believe them because they're like, oh, this is a real person, this is a doctor, and just trust what they're saying. But no, we cannot just trust what these people are saying, because half of the time it's fake. It's not even a real person. And then to make matters worse, the information that they're trying to sell you is also not real and not valid. So don't listen to this information. I really wanted to include this particular person because if you've seen them floating around on TikTok, they're not real. This is an AI generated face, an AI generated character. Somebody is telling it what to say, and then it's just saying a bunch of stuff. And now on to some quick topics. We have number one, boric acid all of the time. There's so many videos talking about boric acid. It's something that you put in before or after sex, you put in after your period, and all of the claims are always to freshen up and balance your pH. Boric acid does not balance your vaginal pH. Boric acid does not restore your microbiome with its good bacteria, which is what truly balances the pH. Boric acid doesn't freshen things up. There's nothing to freshen up. You just need to support the good bacteria in your vagina with probiotics, and that is it. You do not need to freshen up with boric acid. You surely don't need to use boric acid before and after sex. And if you feel like you do because there's an odor, there's a much deeper problem than boric acid being able to solve, right? If you are having sex and there's a strong odor after sex, it's likely that BV pathogens are there, not because of sex, but because there was an influence there, friction, you use sex toys, a lubricant that your body didn't sit right with, or you have a BV infection that's embedded in a biofilm, and these biofilms can release the volatile organic compounds, the VOCs, from BV and cause a very strong odor after sex. So please don't be using boric acid all the time. I've made so many videos about how much I hate boric acid and we shouldn't be using it. Topic number two, we have inserting stuff like food inside of your vagina. You don't need to be putting garlic in your vagina. You don't need to be putting yogurt in your vagina. You don't need to be soaking apple cider vinegar in your vagina on your tampons and then soaking it into your vagina. You don't need to put food in your vagina. Your vagina is self-cleaning and acidic because of one thing and one thing only, and that's good bacteria known as lactobacillus. This is what makes the vagina acidic and makes the vagina self-cleaning. You do not at all need to make the vagina acidic or self-cleaning with apple cider vinegar, with garlic, with onions, with nothing. No food. Yogurt, none of it. You don't need to be putting food in your vagina. Food does not balance the vaginal pH. So no, you don't need food. Let's not use food and put it in our vagina. There's so many videos of DIY, get rid of odor, DIY, get rid of yeast infections, BV, all of that. You don't need to listen or do any of that at all. You don't need to listen to that. That is not helpful. It is only going to exacerbate the problem. You don't need food in your vagina. And last but not least, seen so many videos, and it is that you can get pregnant on your period. So what's the tea? Can you get pregnant on your period? So the short answer is it varies for everyone. The root here is understanding when you ovulate. That is the core truth here. You need to know when are you going to ovulate. In rare cases, people do ovulate on their period. Is it common and is it likely? No. However, the minute you start menstruating, the minute that you get your period, you begin what is known as the follicular phase. As soon as the follicular phase begins, this is where the follicles are starting to mature. Your follicles are starting to mature, and then only one will dominate, and the one that dominates ends up being bursted on ovulation day. For the majority of people with balanced hormones, this takes about 14 days. Usually it'll be a 14-day process, 15-day process. So day 14, 15, 16, somewhere mid-month, mid-cycle, you will now ovulate. However, it is possible that some people have irregular hormones and they could possibly ovulate on their period, but it is rare. But understanding when you ovulate is what's the most important thing. And I think people get in a frenzy about this topic because they're like, not everybody has balanced hormones. I understand that. It doesn't change the fact that ovulating is the key here and understanding when you ovulate. And it could be difficult to understand when you ovulate for everybody. Everybody's situation is different, but that is the core idea here. That's what you need to know. So I think that there's this dangerous misinformation. And honestly, we do have to have a conversation about the misinformation of you could get pregnant any single day of your menstrual cycle. You could get pregnant any time of your cycle, whether it's day 28, day 1, day 15, day 16, day 27. Like you could get pregnant any day of the month. You can get pregnant. That is fundamentally untrue, and that is actually a patriarchal narrative that was pushed against women and misinformation that was pushed and taught so that we felt that we had to control our bodies, we have to control our cycle and stop our bodies from getting pregnant. It is how they've been able to control our bodies, because it is ultimately misinformation to spread that, oh, we could get pregnant at any time of the month. No, you can't. You can only get pregnant when you are ovulating. That's the truth. You can only get pregnant when you are ovulating. When you ovulate is different. It could be at any point of the month for any woman. Like for me, it's day 17, but it might be day 14 for you. It doesn't change the fact that you only get pregnant when you ovulate. Once you ovulate and it's 5 days after ovulation, you can't get pregnant. You can't get pregnant. After you ovulate, your body enters the luteal phase. And in the luteal phase, it says either we are pregnant or we are not pregnant. So you only have a very short window in which you can get pregnant. And that's important to know. That window changes from woman to woman, but you are not fertile starting from day 1 all the way to day 30. You are not just like walking around like ready to get pregnant every single one of those days. It's just not scientifically possible. And we have to shift that narrative so that we don't keep getting the blame that our bodies are just 24/7 fertile and we could get pregnant every single time of the month, and that we should close our legs and stop spreading your legs. And this is what, no, like you don't get pregnant every single day or have a chance of getting pregnant every single day of the month. There's not this chance that exists every single day. It's just not true. So that is just dangerous misinformation that does exist, unfortunately. And I think it's more of the misinformation around our cycles. I think young girls just don't understand the menstrual cycle at all. And that is what's troubling and what's difficult and what starts all of this misinformation. So that is it, guys. That's all of the misinformation that I wanted to touch on today. I think it was a good mix of very trendy things and then not so trendy things. So I hope that this helped clarify a bunch of widespread misinformation that does exist. And I hope you can finish this episode feeling empowered and feeling like you learned something new. So let me know what videos you guys want to see next. I love you guys so much, and we will talk soon. I'm so sorry that Zula's not in the end here. She got sleepy. She's in her litter just laying down. So I'm just going to leave her. I'm about to actually take her back after this video. So I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.